So let's talk about distance management. If I'm in a situation where I suspect another person is going to be a threat, I have to have my hands up, I have to have my stance where I'm at a nice base, and I have to be prepared for anything. I always want to send the message with my hands and with my words that I'm not interested in fighting this person. 10,000 things can happen in a fight. 9,999 of those things are bad. We'll explain more about that later. But when I realize there is a threat, if I have achieved situational awareness, what I need to do is manage the distance. I can't get knocked unconscious if Jesse is across the street, and it's difficult for Jesse to harm me if I'm in on a clinch. And so your choice in a situation like this is going to be, can you get away? Unlike in a sport jiu-jitsu match or an MMA fight, you can choose to disengage and leave, and often that's the right decision, unless they try and stop you from leaving. Or do we want to be all the way in? And we'll talk about a concept that I like to call the death of the middle. So what is a safe distance? A safe distance for me and my buddy is basically 2 arm lengths. The reason for this is Jesse now has to move in if he's going to effectively strike me, if he's going to effectively grapple me. If we're at this distance, I'm basically safe. Now, if Jesse advances on me, notice my hands are up, I have a choice to make, because if I stay in this range, now Jesse can touch my chin. Remember that jiu-jitsu is about survival, and the worst outcome that we want to avoid is going unconscious. Now, if an adult human touches your chin in the right way, particularly if they're big and strong, even if they're not technically trained, you're at risk of going unconscious. So we can't let him get into this range. At this point, the choice I have to make is I can back off or circle, right, to get out of distance. When I do that, you'll notice that I never cross my feet, because that will lead to me tripping. So I can circle away from him, circling away from his power hand, or I can back off, just sending the message, hey man, I'm sorry I took your parking spot. I'm sorry that I cut in front of you at the lunch line, or whatever it is. Trying to de-escalate, always prepared if a situation pops off. Or sometimes you can't back up anymore. Either there's a wall over there, or this guy is advancing on us continually. So again, death of the middle. I'm going to show you what I do if I can't get away, and then I'm going to show you the technical breakdown of one way to do it. So I'm talking, I'm trying to de-escalate, he comes in, and I get into the clinch. Now if Jesse tries to harm me, it's very difficult, right? I've controlled his power hand. His other hand, he can barely touch me, and if he can, it's not going to be effective striking. We can do things from here, or I get all the way out, right? So death of the middle. Let's show the detailed breakdown of how we get into the clinch. One thing that I prefer too is, like, we always have to have our hands up to defend our face. Now there are a couple of different ways that we can do hand position, and I'll show you a couple of them. So Jesse's in, I have to make the decision. I've decided that I can no longer get away. What I prefer to do is cover my face, my palms come to my forehead, and I see through my hands. And I enter into the clinch. The footwork works like 1 step forward, 1 step around. And you see how I come to the over-under clinch, because I prefer to control his power hand, usually their right hand. Another tactic that you see is people swimming for what we call double underhooks. An underhook is where my arm goes under his arms. An overhook is where my arm goes over his arms. We'll use double underhooks to control his hips and take him down in another video during the takedown component, but we can use overhooks for attack as well. So I cover up, step in, enter the clinch. Right? So now we've defeated the problem of all the way in versus all the way out. Generally speaking, let me talk conceptually again. I've never lost a fight that I wasn't in. And so 10,000 things can happen in a fight. The vast majority of those things are bad. If a fight pops off, you're usually going to take damage even if you win the fight. Often there'll be legal consequences. Often there'll be social consequences. It's way better to avoid a situation than extract yourself a situation, and it's also easier. But sometimes the fight can't be avoided. And if the fight can't be avoided, the one thing we must avoid is being in this middle distance where you can touch my face. So I have to be either all the way in or all the way out. This is one way to enter the clinch. We'll show you another couple of ways and then some things to do from there.